Last time on The Empire's Edge.
It does seem as though these people are right at the point where they could defend themselves.
Carl Hawkseeker just approached me, and I got the sense that she wants to come with us.
Head out the next morning, you're traveling, you're under attack.
Look up, they're hiding in the trees. They're actually providing cover for themselves.
I'm standing firm with my glowing stick and my bark-like skin.
Modified 20.
Oh.
What kind of 20 was it?
Unnatural.
Yeah, paladin shenanigans. Can I steal a D8 from each of you?
Yeah, I got 2 of them here. That's why I gave you.
Yeah! Whoa, 3 8s.
3 8s.
You just rolled max damage.
Awesome.
Like hummus, not hummus, humus slayer. That it's what's with all the chickpeas under here?
So what I'm wondering about is, like, the taint of evil here. That are we about to stumble across something very bad?
But right at the edge of the wall, you see an ancient-looking woman who just has stepped out from the edge of the tree. She looks in a weird way happy to see you. She's all alone. She's wearing threads, emaciated, old, wrinkly. And as she smiles, she looks to you and says, "I've been waiting for you. I'm glad you're here." So in that moment, you've got to be stunned seeing this threadbare, dressed in tatters, ancient-looking, just shriveled-up-looking woman. But she seems kind of happy to see you. And she says that she has been expecting you.
Can I roll insight?
I would like to do
can
that
I
too.
join in on that part?
Yeah, go for it. All of you.
Oh, boy.
Ah, dang.
24.
Yeah, no, I was kidding. I got like a 14. 7.
So what is it you're trying to find out as you're looking into her eyes, her face?
Does she
Body
look
language.
flip-flack and crazy?
Does she have eyes in her face?
She does have eyes in her face. Yeah, a lot of wrinkles
Do we
around them
see
too.
the Lovecraftian tentacles kind of erupting out of her back and head?
No, they're invisible.
Oh, damn.
So you couldn't tell from this she's crazy. She doesn't seem like she's quite balanced, because how could she know that you guys are showing up? How could she be
Is she
expecting
hiding
you?
her hands? Could she be doing anything like secretly malicious? Is she open-armed? Does she truly seem welcoming, or does she seem like fresh meat?
What was your roll again?
24.
Yeah, so with that 24, a couple of things that you've already touched upon, you were asking about. One, her stance does not seem open and greeting. It seems a little more closed, like she's trying to protect herself. She's standing there. Initially, you can only see one hand, then it was both as she stepped out from behind this tree. She's still about 30 feet away, but it looks like she is guarded and reserved. You would think that she is probably hiding things, maybe a lot of things, that you suspect that even though she said she's happy to see you, it might not be happy like, "Oh, yay, finally, someone brought my food." It could be as far as, "Oh, yay, you're the food."
Dinner.
Yeah.
It's dinner time.
So you are treating it with a 24. You would probably treat her with a lot of suspicion. She says she's happy to see you, but you don't know what the reason is, why she is. You've met some creepy old woman out there in the woods. Something seems very wrong.
I'd like to make a perception that she's not like the distraction, and we're about to be ambushed by something that's
Okay, go ahead.
from around us. Ooh, that's a 19.
So you're listening like for the crunch of some kind of thing flanking you
Anything,
or
yeah.
anything like that. It is so still here. And again, you were aware of this just minutes ago and for the previous day or two, that there really aren't any birds flying around. You're not aware of the sounds of squirrels scratching up a tree as they typically do. There's not a lot of anything else making sounds. The whole thing seems like it's a dying forest, and there's not a lot of life here. So no, when she says that, and everyone's kind of looking at her for a moment, in that awkward silence that develops, and she's still just kind of happy looking, you don't hear anything coming up. There's nothing perceptively that's cueing you.
This is weird.
Just her.
We're travelers on the road.
And the road has brought you to me. Welcome. We'll go to my house and we'll make some tea. We'll get some food. We'll sit and talk. We'll catch up. We'll find so many things to talk about. And she does an about face and starts walking further on.
Do we follow her?
Well, as soon
Is
as
it
she
a
turned her back on me, I
gingerbread
limber
house?
my bow.
Yeah.
Right in the back.
Nice grouping.
Smite-a-palooza coming up.
After a step or two, she turns around to make sure that you're coming. And she holds your hand out and doesn't do the wave that's like, come on. It's that wave where people have their arms still and just move the fingers toward you.
Like Bruce Lee, like
Summoning.
like doing his.
A little bit like that, yeah.
So I look at my compatriots and see if we're
Get ready for a fight, and I'll take point.
all right.
All right, so you're following her. You guys, as you're walking, and over the course of the next about 45 minutes, close to an hour,
Jeez.
there are more and more low walls, as though there had been a lot of buildings. Sometimes you're walking on what must have been a thoroughfare between buildings, taking a road that goes to the left or to the right. They're both at different points, and there are trees just everywhere. So it looks like whatever this building area was, and sometimes it almost disappears. And then you can see a little more established walls and collapsed piles of stone and whatnot. That you're walking through what must have been at one point an enormous city. An absolutely enormous city. And judging by the footprints, well, I shouldn't say too much. What kind of rolls do you guys make? Things you
I'll look for footprints.
Okay, go ahead. Make your survival roll.
Is this forest in any way would not allow me my favorite terrain?
It would still give you favorite terrain. It is your favorite terrain. It's your favorite terrain, but it's dying.
Yeah, okay. 18 on that
Yeah,
survival.
you can see Boris's right ahead of you, and you can see this old woman's right ahead of that. I was about to talk about the footprints of the building.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, not somebody's
So
footprints.
in looking around, can I tell, is it just that it's been overgrown, or was there a battle? Was it destroyed, or has it just slowly been encroached
Go ahead
by
and
the
roll your
forest?
investigation to see what varied cues you can pick up on.
Ooh. Can I roll something else?
No.
6.
No, you can tell that obviously that a lot of buildings have come down. You're not sure at this point. Probably the difference you're picking up on is not only by your perceptive abilities, but that every low hill in this area, if you roll to the ground, could just be where a bunch of buildings have collapsed. Who knows how long ago, and trees have grown up over them. So it might have been a much more leveled area at one point, and that's why you lose track of some of the like the low walls, foundations of a building, and then they appear again when you get into like a low spot. So how they were destroyed, you're not getting anything
I'm
at
going
all.
to ask Boris if he can look around and see. Do you think a battle raged here, and
Yeah,
that's
why
what
not?
destroyed the place?
So remind me again, like around what time of day it is.
You guys
Here
were
we
in,
can't tell.
yeah,
I also got a 6, so no, I
it's a
can't
late
help.
Dang it.
afternoon, and now
But I suggested it to you, so I gave you advantage.
You can only
So-
give advantage on skills you have proficiency in.
Really?
Yeah, check the thing.
right. And now if Jacob were to roll that and also get a 6, you guys should just leave right now.
Yeah, no, it was just like, all right, yeah, that's the third 6, the great sign.
With it,
Let's
being,
get out.
with it being vocalized, I might just take a look and
All right,
see
sure.
what all I can glean from it, and that's not a 6.
Thank
Not
God.
even close. Unnatural 20.
All right. Thank you, Jacob, for paying attention.
The DC was much higher than that.
Well,
For it to really tell, it's been so long. What you can tell is by the break in stone when you get to an actual piece of wall that you think the stone it could have easily been weathered for 100 years or more. Once lichen gets on it, it's tough to tell 100 years from 1,000 years. So
but natural stuff, what from rain wearing it down on it,
Right,
and
yeah.
vines growing into cracks and crevices.
exactly, it's been so long that this has been destroyed. That there are trees easily that could be 100, 150-year-old big oak trees, and they're growing on top of some of these mounds that you suspect are buildings that have collapsed. So
Okay, yeah.
it's been a
Addressing
long time.
her, what happened to this place?
She stops, recognizing the question is for her, because she's always stayed, 15, 20 feet ahead of you, Boris. Whenever you go to move to catch up, she stays just ahead of you. And before she answers the
Quick
question,
old thing.
go ahead and make a perception roll.
Perception or insight?
Uh,
on her or on the surroundings?
it's on how she's interacting with the surroundings.
Okay.
I guess
So
that would be
perception or insight?
Yeah,
I think it would still be. This sounds like perception.
I'd stick with.
It's a
I'm
plus
gonna-
2 either way. It's just the technicality.
I'll stick with perception.
All right.
Hey.
Unnatural 20.
Nice.
Woohoo.
You are quite sure that at different points you've taken 2 quick steps just to close that distance a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and almost immediately, like a microsecond after your quick step, she was taking 2 quick steps and was just keeping that same distance to be ahead of you.
Dislike.
That even though that she has it's like she must have like bone, thin layer of muscle, and skin. There's just not much to her. That despite that,
Yeah, she catches a breeze and has picked up a good 10
she
feet.
is nimble, quick, and because it happens almost at the same time, she's like micro aware of your movements.
I cast Fireball. This is hitting all my nope alarms.
But you had a
My
question.
paladin instincts are saying, smite now, ask later.
But you had asked something else, and I forget what it was now.
I asked her what happened to this place.
She turns around and she looks and she said, well, now we're in the business district. So this is the place where we would have people that would be selling different commodities. They might have stone that was milled nearby. Farmers' grains could be sold here. Any number of things over in that direction. And she just points in direction of shabby kind of decayed looking woods and said, the Grand Market was only a few blocks in that direction. Lovely place. But thank you for asking. Few so ask now.
Is she talking in past tense or in present tense?
Present tense. She's
Okay.
talking that this is where people sell stuff. He said, what happened to this place?
How many years have you lived here?
All of them. And then she keeps on walking.
Oh my gosh, this is just weird. All right. Anything strange about the path that she's taking? Like taking a note of the direction we're traveling. Does it feel like we're going in a semi-direct line, or that she's weaving us through a lot of areas, like she's almost taking us on a tour?
She's definitely not taking a straight line, but you do get the idea. You're using your own mind's eye with the outline of building remains. You can see the nature of the small hills that are around here. That it is like she's taking different streets that used to be here.
She's following roads, not walking through people's houses, kind of.
Most typically. Every once in a while, she'll step through one. And go ahead and roll a perception roll.
5.
Yeah. So you're aware that at one point she actually does step through somebody's house, but there was a thing to know. You don't know it.
All right.
So-
I'll ask her how close are we to your home?
Oh, it's right here in the city. I've lived in most of these houses at one point or another. I've lived in this house. I've lived in this house. She walks on a little bit. I've lived in this house and this house.
Did she point at the house that she's walked through as we were walking through that? or-
Oh, no. No. And so with that one, when you point to that house right there, the other two of you, no advantage, just your individual roll. Go ahead and make a perception roll.
Okie dokie.
I'm not even proficient in perception. I can't. grant it.
15.
So 16.
You're both
Sorry.
aware as you... As Zelen has a want to do. What's your roll? It's anyone else's roll plus 1. That's what it says on my character sheet right here.
Love it.
That both Zelen and Boris, you're aware that when she stepped through that house, she said, "Excuse me," and she kept on going as she walked through that house.
This is
So what does she
weird.
see? Because she is not seeing what we're seeing.
But she also is, because otherwise she would have just stepped through a wall.
Yeah. I wonder if there's
Frothing,
any
bug-eyed
way.
self-delusion.
I wonder if there's any way to tell Kroll to
Oh yeah, there's someone else with us.
to like try
You
to
know, there's a
mark,
half-orc following you. Ah!
to try to mark our path so we can get the heck back out of here if we need to.
Go and roll survival.
Are you going to be able to get us out?
Probably a natural 20.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
feel sure that it's
All
not.
right.
It's been like it's so twisty
I
turny.
feel like I'm being led to the gingerbread house and I'm about to be put in an oven.
Oh man, that's way too much carbs for my diet.
I was just watching Disenchantment last night, and that was the episode I was watching.
It's a good episode.
It is.
Gretel and
Great
Hansel. That is Hansel and Gretel.
When Germans laugh, people get nervous.
So, building off what Victor was talking about, where like she was walking through a wall. Does
You
it
mean
still
what
seem-
Boris was talking about?
That's
No,
what
Victor
Victor
was talking
Yeah,
about.
No,
Boris
I
wasn't
guess-
talking about anybody walking through walls.
True. Did
don't
it
wanna
did it
tick
look
her
like
off.
when she walked through this building, she did specifically move through what would have been doorways, or did she actually just move through the lot itself?
Yeah, go ahead and roll that perception for yourself, Jacob, on that.
13.
That'll work.
Okay.
At 13,
It sounded like there was plus stuff with that.
that it looks like, just judging by the footprint of that one, you think that she actually stepped through what would have been a door, walked through the footprint of the house, and then went through a different door.
Oh
Like
my
she
God.
went
Hmm.
like front door to back door to front door, and actually literally went through where you could have
Walk
gone
through the foyer. Here's the
house.
sitting room.
Right.
and said, "Excuse me," as she went.
Does anyone else think that this woman is absolutely nuts?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
would
think we've
say
got
she's
that. Okay,
pretty
yeah.
ding dang bonkers.
After about 45 minutes, you get to an area, and it was difficult to perceive from any distance because the forest has this uniform kind of grayish ashen. Every once in a while, you'll come across what would have been like a sapling of a tree, and you touch a branch, it snaps off. It's like the wood was rotted inside the bark.
Skeleton of a squirrel sitting in it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That would have been cool. I wish I had.
Head
yeah.
turns to look at us as we walk down the street. It follows us.
Bunch of
Usually
zombie
cracking the
ravens.
knuckles. It's actually a squirrel turning its little undead skeletal head at you. Crack, crack, crack.
Smite. Getting even worse. Getting even worse.
That you can see there are the remains of taller buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get to that, you can see that building would probably have been like a warehousey kind of building, big footprint to it, no interior walls.
Now, here's an idea. I don't know off the top of my head. David doesn't know a lot about construction and like certain eras and how things looked, but is the construction here similar to the kind of construction for the old road that we stumbled across in the forest?
Oh, interesting. Or even some of Shepton, because Shepton, they said, was
fair.
much older.
Does this look like the same construction, or does that road potentially, does it look like it would even connect to this area?
Go ahead and roll an investigation, and roll that with advantage because you lived in Shepton for a while, and you have a pretty good idea of how things are put together. What'd you roll? What was your first one?
First one was a 17. The second one was a 19 for a 21.
Very good.
Unnatural.
You would say that this is a different construction style from Shepton.
Okay.
And a different construction style from the road that you were on. And even those two didn't align exactly. There was more similarities. But it does make you think, and you probably turn to Boris and Zelen and say, this seems kind of familiar, but I'm not even sure from where or when at this point. And you start pointing out those things.
Yeah, I do that for sure. Yeah. Especially the one that might
a
know
lot
more.
of that was Old Bravis. What about the Krenlan Protectorate? The in-betweeny one, like with
That's a name. Yeah.
the structure.
I remember that's been said before.
Yeah, I'm about to explain it.
Okay.
The structure where we encountered that Zrek zombie and that obelisk.
Yeah, the cracked off obelisk underground.
Yeah.
What might have been like some kind of a foundry.
the underground forge foundry kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So,
I'm going to...
well, before you do, so make that perception roll.
Okie dokie.
I'm sorry, there'll be an investigation roll on that one.
Still same plus.
I
15.
dropped my brain. That was a natural one.
Yeah. You're just watching the creepy old woman to make sure she doesn't like turn into a bat or disappear
Some
or
of her
something.
gray matter's like seeping out of her nose. It sucks it back in. Sorry, what?
Boris, what'd you roll?
15.
You were starting to pick up on little telltales, things that you didn't really pick up on the detail of when you were in that subterranean location where there was that obelisk. But you're noticing things about the stone, how they're arranged, how they're stacked, various like subtle details that this is looking more like that Krenlan building style than it is about like an old Bravis building style.
Good call.
Does this seem like Krenlan Protectorate structure to you guys?
Let me check.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll that as a, I guess, remembering it, a memory.
No.
Roll it as an intelligence check.
Oh, just straight up intelligence. Good.
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
It's just a
D20 plus your
D20
intelligence
plus your
modifier.
intelligence modifier.
8.
7.
Yeah, so you're both like,
Building.
But you feel pretty secure in it, Boris.
Yeah, no, I was saying that directed at them more to gauge her reaction to that. Like if she knew the term.
I see what
Oh,
you're
there you
saying.
go.
Yeah, I wasn't asking you, the actors. I was asking you, the party members.
She turns toward you, Boris, and just nods and say, I am so happy to hear that people from the outside world remember the Protectorate and all the glories and the things they had done. It is marvelous you're finally here. And she turns back, those is kind of over her shoulder, and continues on her way.
Now, she definitely said that part in past tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is so weird. Okay.
So the ruins are larger, in this place. They're more substantial. And the further you're going now, they seem to be getting more substantial. Go ahead and roll yet another investigation.
15.
Less than that.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
You're aware, Boris, that looking ahead where there's some rise to the ground, it might be like on the bit of a hill or a ridge that's maybe like a quarter of a mile away. You get actually a break in the canopy for just this brief period. You can see that the ruins, though they were climbing up that ridge, that hill, that they're also getting more destroyed as it goes up there too. That it seems like the tallest buildings are here. And to gauge it, you would think this is not the middle of the city. It's not the center of the city. but it's probably the most surviving part of the city. As though if you're going to live in a place, you'd live here where there's still some buildings remaining, but it wouldn't have been the place where like the best homes were, or where the the palace was adjacent to, or something like that.
Okay. Continuing in that vein, what I want to gauge, just kind of compared to other structures around, like, if this wasn't the original city center, was it a de facto city center? Like, if some cataclysm happened, but it didn't completely just erase the population, that it kept kind of shrinking territory as people...
Yeah, go ahead and roll that as an investigation as well.
So as he's doing that, can I see if I can close the gap between us?
Yeah, sure. As he's making those observations, go ahead.
Is she doing anything that I might be able
16.
to notice as like keeping tabs on us, like looking back and making sure that we're still following that we're all together as a group?
Roll that as an investigation as well. Boris, yes. You do note that it looks like at different points, different structures might have actually been fortified, reinforced, try to maintain the building, and that would imply that some beings lived here, wanted to maintain this, where just 15 minutes ago walking, no one had done that. So someone did try to preserve areas of this, and that the further you go following her, you're getting more evidence that there was more preservation attempted. The more you go to wherever she's leading you right now.
Triaging a city.
That's a neat way to look
like
at it.
it.
Yeah, that is the case.
How many people dwell here?
how many people do-
Addressing her, yeah.
All of them for centuries. The glories of it, ever since the Rift, ever since Vistar and Lasden, and we all know that story. Now, of course, the three of you have heard the term Lasden before. It's part of your religion.
Vistar's a barony. Vistari is a barony.
And that's right. You know Vistari is a barony, but she just said Lasden and Vistar as though there are two people. So that you all know that story. The three of you, there's no role you could make. The three of you going, I have no idea what story she's talking about. But the Krenlan Empire has been an empire since that story.
Yeah.
Whatever that story was. But back to
Okay.
Zelen. You had asked a question about like trying
Could
to
I
catch
close
up with
the
her.
gap?
Yeah, so you find yourself doing the same thing you do, like, boom, 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 3 quick steps, and you're aware just like a half second behind you doing that, she went boom, 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 and she just skipped up 3 steps and just stayed right ahead of you.
I love the Vistar Lasden story. Would you tell us as we walk?
I'm not sure I have the energy for that right now, but when we get to my home and we get some food, I could tell you some things about that grand story that brought about the birth of the Krenlan Protectorate. And Jacob, you're looking for...
If she's keeping tabs on us, kind of like, is she ever looking back to make sure we're all
And what'd you
following?
roll perceptibly?
15 on, you want perception is 16.
You would say yes, that even though she only looks over her shoulder periodically, and that's really in response to all of you, once she knew you were following, she no longer beckoned you forward, she has you with her. But you're getting subtleties in how she's moving, how she's stepping. Maybe her shoulder does something. She tips her head a certain way when you are talking to each other or to her, that you get the idea that even without looking behind herself, she's keeping tabs on where you are, your walking order, where you are in relation to things you're passing, that she's keeping very close tabs on you.
Gotcha. Okay. I was thinking about breaking off from the group and just to see what she did, but
I could start
anymore.
like singing and making auditory cover. Yeah, just something to kind of keep us occupied.
Yeah. I mean,
Starts again, Men of Harlech.
Something similar, yeah. Just kind of we're walking and bored, so let's do something to keep our brains occupied.
yeah. Call ahead to Boris. Like, Boris, sing me that one about the whatever. What is it called? What did you just say? You just said the words.
The Men of Harlech.
Sing us the Men of Harlech.
And he's not actually going to sing because he's not a bard. Unless you really want to.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted.
knows that.
So it's a song that it goes up and down. He's probably singing it like in a
Loud,
bass or a baritone. And it gets, very, very loud, and it swells to a word. And then it dies down a bit, and it rises back to that, the way that a lot of marching kind of songs
So
do.
looking for my opportunity where there's a nice swell, but also watching her to make sure it's not a moment where she might be doing that subtle looking behind her.
Okay, roll stealth.
Throws a knife into
Do
my
I get
neck
advantage
to
with
shut
his
me up.
singing?
No, just roll stealth.
Oh man.
Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the roll at all.
Oh, true. 22.
As you just go to step away, you're doing just that. She comes to just a stop. and she turns about, and as she's stopping, do you two stop? Or that's Boris and Zelen,
I'll
or do you keep walking
approaching her. See if I can kind of herd her forward.
As she turns about and stops, and then Boris keeps on moving, she's now walking backward. And she says...
Backward, or towards us?
No, walking away from you, backward away from you.
Oh, backing away from
And,
us.
So she's still keeping the same distance.
She said, "Oh, my dear guest, the city is large and there's so many things to see. I would happily show you around on some other day, but you should stick with us now."
This is creepy. Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
And then
I don't like that I'm not in melee.
I was merely admiring this lovely home, gesturing towards whichever house I was near at the time.
That is a stable. And she turns about and keeps on walking.
Fitting, you were raised in one.
And she proceeds on her way again. Now, you had observed, Boris, just a few minutes ago, that there is more and more repair done to the city till it gets to the point where you can actually, you're suddenly seeing buildings that have wooden elements to them, which you hadn't seen heretofore. And you could see that, gosh, it might be a little bit unstable, but in a pinch, I'd spend the night in that. It's like a lean-to on the Appalachian Trail. It's definitely shelter. And then you get to an area where there's a knot of houses, and they actually look like they're in pretty good condition. It seems to have been like...
Fortifications or just buildings?
Just buildings, just houses, like two-story houses, two-story and an attic.
Okay.
And that there are, so definitely not the wealthy houses of any city, but then they're not the poorest ones either. It's just
Right.
a district in the city. But somebody has taken whatever debris might have been in the streets, who knows how far in the past, and moved them to the periphery. There's branches that have fallen that have been pitched over to the side. So there's like a bushy berm of just like dead and decaying things. But it's relatively clear here to where it's actually bare street.
What area of the town are we in?
Oh, this is in the homes of merchants, and it's a lovely place to stay. I've chosen to make my home among the merchants, as did my parents and their parents and their parents and their parents and their parents. We've lived in the merchant district for a long time. It helps us to connect with the people. There's no better way to rule than to know who your people truly are.
Agreed. Who do you trade with?
Oh, we trade with anyone in the world that still has respect for the Krenlan Protectorate. And she enters a house.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
yes, we go in.
Yeah, I'll take point in case this is a I step past the door and wait to crack somebody in the head type of
When
scenario.
you get into the house,
How decrepit is this house? Is it similar to the other ones, or is this one almost kind of put together?
it's actually fairly reasonably well maintained.
Okay.
Now, does it need paint? Yes. Do the wood fixtures need to be replaced? Yes. Is it in danger of structural collapse? No. It actually looks pretty sound.
Okay.
When you go inside, she's on the far side of the room that would have been a great room in a house typical like this. And there is a very, I'll call it like a European-style stove that would be like, like a wood-burning stove, but you cook on it, it heats the house, everything else. And it's not just a metal thing, it's ceramic on the outside. So there is a high level of skill that went into making something like this. And you know that there's an interior chimney that goes through, and there's a lot of skill making or putting into the construction of that. And she is stoking a fire to bring it back on, and she turns about and is proffering a kettle to Jacob and just said, be a good lad and go fill this up at the well. And then turns back to whatever she's doing. And then when you have it moved, she says, 40, go, shoo.
Okay. Hey, I'll take my opportunity to go out into the streets alone.
And
He
sits
said
down.
before dying.
The inside of this, even without a perception check, it looks like if you were to come across like a trader's cabin out in the Yukon and the person lives there by themselves, that's what it looks like. There is just stuff stored, collected, numerous things that a person might need, want, or use are just all over the place in here that it looks almost like she could open up a store and start selling out of this room. There's so much
The
stuff. but
broken
it's
bones of previous victims.
haphazard. Go ahead and do an investigation.
That wasn't a no. Unnatural 20, natural 18.
There are definitely bone fragments. You walk in, you're looking around, there's a bunch of leaves and things banked up into a corner. And as she is like over near the fire, stoking that up, waiting for Jacob to come back with the teapot, that you poke into that and you notice that there are bones in with these leaves in that corner.
We hate
Big
to.
bones or little critter bones?
Bigger bones, like something that must have been like at least the size of a deer.
Like human size?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We hate to use up your supplies. Let us share our food. And I immediately go into my pack to start pulling out because I don't want to eat whatever she's been eating.
She turns to you and her shoulders soften. She kind of drops her posture and she says, "You are the most wonderful guests. I accept. I'll supply the tea and you supply the food. This is lovely. It's been so long since I've had a proper occasion to entertain like this."
Am I immune to disease or to poison? Disease. Yeah.
I want to take my time while I'm quote unquote fetching tea, and
Well,
I
you're
want to.
fetching the water. She's got the tea.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, fetching tea. Lovely.
Yeah, so what kind of a store are you looking for?
You're just
I
well
don't see a
ever.
Starbucks anywhere. I'm looking for my chai tea latte.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts down in the corner,
Does
big old
not
flashing
happen.
neon sign.
No, that was the druids.
Oh, dang it. Yeah, as I'm going around, I want to look specifically for wherever, like, refuse. Like, if there's an area, does it look like this area is maintained? Like, she's been cleaning the area around here, looking for where she would be disposing of her garbage if she's not just keeping it all in her house.
There's this knot of 3 houses that are in pretty good repair, and just a little outside of that, there's like called a ring of houses around that, but it's not truly a ring, that are in less repair. And then just outside of that, your nose leads you right to what's got to be her latrine. And
Not what I was looking for, but okay.
but you have definitely found that.
Fill the
And-
teapot with her own.
Oh, we gotta drink it too.
Wow.
I had no intention of drinking. If
I
that's
didn't
your
either.
plan, you're
Well,
on your own.
so-
Gonna tip it to your lips and not let you imbibe
Yeah,
anything.
Like, turn your head and throw it over your shoulder. Do that.
So
no,
I'm-
You pour it in
I'll
a-
tip my head and then pour it so it's like running past my lips and just splashing on my shoulder. I saw the Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, that's right. You pour it into
Push.
the dead potted plant and it dies more. Yeah, a little
Burst into flame.
explosion.
Yeah. But when I don't want to pick through her feces. I don't want to do that. So I'll keep.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I keep looking.
Roll an investigation.
Ooh. I don't have my sheet open. Investigation is a unnatural 20. Yeah.
You would determine that she is largely a carnivore.
Oh. Okay.
Crap.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you still
Is-
poking around the poop?
No.
Wow.
Is the well obvious?
Yeah, you passed it a bit ago. There was a well that wasn't too far from one of
Okay.
the other 2 buildings.
So fill that back in, and then very quickly making
what,
it
if
back
you're going
to
to fill the well back in?
Yeah. just
So-
grab a shovel
So,
and very quickly making it back to my group just to make sure that they're
Okay.
still alive.
And she
While-
meets you near the stove and put it on the stove.
while he's doing all this, can
Yeah.
I sit quietly enough to do detect magic by ritual?
You can give it a try, and you might just gauge how she responds to that.
And the whole time she's doing that, I'm darting eyes, looking over at like Boris,
Yeah,
like trying to communicate, like, bad mojo.
telepathic messages to the other 2 for them. What no nature shenanigans to check the plants she's allegedly making tea out of.
That as you guys are making this kind of contact back and forth with each other, and Zelen, you start casting detect magic as a ritual. She stops what she's doing and turns and looks at you, watches what you're happening, and she says the word curious as you're doing that. And then she says, oh, I haven't seen someone do that in so very long. And she holds her arms out to her side. She's standing like she's like sun worshiping, but her arms are down, not up, as you're casting detect magic. And then she says, "Have you found anything?"
No, I haven't.
You have.
Oh,
That
dang,
she-
I have.
I'm just gonna lie and hope you don't notice.
because that was the hit you had found before. She does have a weapon just in the fold of her tattered clothes, a knife, dagger, something very small. It's just kept close to her hip and part inside her garment. But you would say that whatever it is rating a pretty good solid ping. She's carrying a magical weapon.
What about the tea? That's really what I'm worried about.
Do you say that to her?
Heck no.
Just
Did
double
you
checking.
actually want to keep with that no and roll a deception to see if you could lie to her?
Yeah, actually, that's a good
was a
idea.
legitimate question, yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
good
that
idea.
is a legitimate question.
But still standing kind of next to her after making eyes with Boris and him kind of darting his eyes over at the tea, I'll look at that with a nature sense.
Okay, go ahead and roll that too.
And the tea is what I was really trying to detect to see if she was doing anything
Smuggling
magical
a
to the
potion
tea.
to us.
Yeah, you take no hit of magic coming from either the
tea.
dried leaves or the tea that she's.
Okay,
It's not even
and-
boiling yet, so that she's about to brew.
And can I get away with saying no, I didn't I didn't detect a thing.
She just smiles.
Okay.
Gotcha. That was a 16 on nature, looking at the tea leaves.
It is not any variety of tea you've ever seen. You suspect that maybe, hopefully, cross your fingers that it's like sassafras that she found wild and has dried it. It's just a plant, but it's too far dried and just rattly leaves to know what it actually is.
What kind of tea do you enjoy drinking?
And she holds up a mug and says, "This kind."
Oh.
And then just sets the mug back down again.
If you answer questions like that, I don't care who you are. Go away.
Energizing or relaxing?
You're asking her, energizing, relaxing?
Caffeinated or depressive?
Relaxing. Tea should always be relaxing.
I don't know enough about spells to know what components are like for them.
Well, there's no magic.
Oh, yeah, no, but this could be a component for a spell if she's trying to make something.
But magic hasn't actually happened yet.
Oh, I see.
Said Jacob, thinking in a very paranoid way. Probably wise.
You're right.
So
I could
after,
purify it, but she's going to know I did it.
by and by,
Yeah.
give it 15, 20 minutes, the water comes to a boil, and she makes tea properly. She doesn't like make tea in individual cups. She's brewing tea in a different pot than the pot that it actually boiled in. And then once she's done that right, she is pulling the tea back out again. She has a strainer, and then she's pouring individual cups on a tray. And she turns with a tray, and she's looking at you, Zelen. Go ahead and give me a, I forget the thing where you're like sensing their motive, but I can't think what it's called now.
Perception.
Is that just perception? I thought
Yeah.
it was just something else.
Yeah, spot and sense motive and all those things were replaced by perception as well.
26.
Insight is gauging.
Oh, insight's a person. That's
Insight.
right.
That's
Insight.
what
Or 26.
Okay, wow, yeah, so 26. She is looking very uncomfortable and embarrassed for you because there's no food on the tray.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. So let me open my pack and pull out some food and pull out some things.
Yeah,
and,
whatever rations we've been having.
And ask if she wants me to arrange them in a certain way.
Oh, however you like, dear. And so then you set out whatever kind of foods you have. It's like,
Right.
hardtack and biscuits.
Well, and
and
we might have some leftover game from our travels and that kind of stuff. And
Some
we might have
cooked
taken
dried
some
meat or
jerky.
Well, it's been
whatever.
a while since we've run into any animals because of the
Right, but
forest
we
is
might have
dying.
taken some jerky from the settlement
true.
before we left. And
So whatever you guys do have, you set out right there.
Yeah.
It could even be like, a piece of fruit or vegetable too, and you
Right.
set that out too.
yeah,
so
well, she
that's out.
probably hasn't had since the dawn of time. Potentially, literally, since the
And
dawn of
then-
time.
She directs you with a hand motion to sit down, and it isn't like there's a proper parlor. You're just finding a spot to sit. It could be a box or an upturned bucket
Right.
or a chair. And as you all sit, she's poured tea and she's handed around and handing each person a dish with a little bit of food on it, and then she sits down herself.
Let me say a blessing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if this will protect us from anything, but I want to try and swing it. What I want to do is try and pass off spellcasting as a non-magical blessing. What I want to cast is protection from evil, which will give us immunity to certain effects against
Tea.
undead is what I was thinking.
Okay.
That I'm picking aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead. Actually, no, never mind. I only touch a creature to affect this with rather than as a general thing.
Okay.
Okay, I had an idea, and it would have been cool, but it doesn't actually do the thing. Never
Okay.
mind.
All right, but
You
are you
can
still going to
still
say a
pray.
blessing over the
Yeah,
whole thing?
sure.
All right, so
And different idea, same vein. I'm going to go with Divine Sense
Okay.
instead of casting Protection from Evil and sense the presence or absence of fiends, celestials, and undead within 60 feet, as well as consecrated or desecrated objects or locations.
okay, so
Again, same range.
gotcha. So as you're saying that prayer, all three of you go ahead and make that same insight roll.
15.
Natural 20 for a
This
22.
is the third
Nice.
one I have rolled this time.
Put good in, get good out.
111.
Try a different D20.
yeah.
That's the customary.
That is Boris. You note that as you're saying the words, and there's no real magic, you're not drawing up your
Yeah.
clerical-like energy from it. You're just saying a prayer that she looks really uncomfortable. Like if it wasn't her own house, she'd want to go home right now.
Gauging her response to
Time to smite!
anytime Boris mentions like any names of gods or deities, like seeing if she kind of squirms at the mention
Well,
of certain
she
gods.
mentioned Lasden.
Which
She did.
is
She did.
kind of an archangel-like thing
And
in my faith.
who do you?
Uko.
Yeah. So like when he says a prayer to Uko, does she squirm in any
Well,
particular
that's when
way?
she notices it, like Uko, and she's like,
That's the okay.
yeah, that is the uncomfortable. Like, her face grimaces a little bit. It's not horrible. She doesn't like start, her head is spin around and she spits up, green pea soup or something.
That's a classic.
But she definitely just looks like she'd rather you get past that part. And then you say, with Lasden's mercy, she seems to be kind of back to her being herself again. And then once that's done, she starts eating the food, and it looks as though she's trying to like contain or refrain herself. That she could just go and just eat all the stuff like, a teen eating a Twinkie or something, just wham, all at once. So
Do I sense anything with that?
you do not sense that there is either undead, celestial, anything within that range. When it comes to desecrated ground, you do feel that there has been not like a desecration spell, but there has been desecration of some sort that has taken place.
A wrongness.
Yes, and it's everywhere. It's not just like in this house or like in this room. It feels like it could be like as far as whatever your range of perception is, but you have a feeling it wasn't like, oh, I just barely got the edge of that range in here. That if you had walked 100 feet, you'd still be feeling it.
I'm in the middle of the Pacific and I cast Detect Ocean.
And
it's
you got
everywhere.
it. Yeah, it's everywhere, right.
You said that your
My-
family were rulers here, and how long have you ruled? Can you put a number of years on it?
Forever. Sarntar Azul has been the great gem of the Krenlan Protectorate since that great story of Lasden and Vistar. And from that time to this, my family or their descendants, there are some that would say that the line of ascendancy ran sideways for a bit, but it's always been our family right down to me. And then we will, and the plan still remains here, that the glory that you see around us will be the glory that we maintained into the future, and new home will spring up from everything that is here now. And she starts sipping her tea and eating her food.
We never even told you our names. My name is Zelen.
Oh, that's nice.
And your name is?
I'm Violet. I apologize. I thought I had said my name to you before.
I'm sorry, maybe you had.
I don't remember either.
She had.
I'm not giving her my
She
name.
had.
Yeah,
Okay.
she had not. Yeah. And Boris says, "My name's Rick."
Yeah.
I say my name's Boris.
It's not your name.
Smite.
Violet, would you tell us the story of Vistar and Lasden?
So she does, and she goes into a narrative that probably lasts about an hour, and you still believe you're just getting the first part of this. Go ahead and make that same insight if you think that she is being honest as far as she knows when it comes to the story, or if she's just like making crap up as she's going along.
17.
25.
21.
But you're all good.
Wow, 17 was the low one.
You all get the feeling that you'll have the belief that she is telling the story as honestly as she knows it, as though it was told to her many times as a child through her youth. She's retold it, that she believes it. She tells of a great battle of, from your point of view, Boris, it'd be like archangels battling. It'd be what your religion refers to as the powers, and the greatest of the powers in a battle and a fight in which Lasden destroyed someone named Vistar. And then out of that, with the destruction of Vistar, and yet almost like skip past the words, you realize that she said, almost as like kind of tripping through the words, and you had to decode it, and that ended Bravis.
Oh, wow.
But she trips right through that so quickly, and really her focus and what she really enunciates and communicates and delivers in such a full way is the rise of the Krenlan Protectorate. And that's where she ends her narrative for now. And again, unless you stop her, she'll go on for the full hour telling the story. Boris, you're very aware without a roll, with all of your education, you have never heard the story before.
Yeah.
And you're connected to noble
faith,
families in the Confederation of Duchies.
Mhm.
Does it seem like a story that you may know kind of parts of, and it's like someone else's telling of a story, and like it has certain anchors and areas that you would know about?
Can I make a knowledge religion check for said
Go for
purposes?
it, yeah.
Okay, that's 14.
It would spark a question, and it would be like, and what happened to them after that? It would be like the only thing you could do. It connects to nothing you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be it just came to you, and then what happened? And then what?
Mm-hmm.
So do you ask that? Do you enunciate that?
Yeah.
That when you say that, she nods her head and says, "Of course, as I'm sure that you all know, Lasden went into hiding in disgrace, and Vistar is scattered in pieces all over the world." And at that, she looks, like kind of out the doorway, out the windows that have neither shutters nor coverings. And she said, "It is late. The fire here is dying down, and we need to build the fire up in the sleeping house. But let us all go to the sleeping house. Gather your things." And she gathers a few things herself and is heading toward the door to go to whatever the heck the sleeping house is.
As
Boris,
she's
do you want to offer to gather some wood for the fires? Because maybe then you could do a little explore.
Might as
Do you
well.
say that out loud?
Yeah,
This
that
is
was-
Natalie talking or Zelen?
This is Zelen, and I do say it, but quietly.
Do you
as
want to
quiet-
gather some firewood? Wink, wink.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Exactly.
Let me just see if she can pick up on that. All right, so she doesn't seem to make any notice of you saying that.
Sure.
I'll also ask her when it comes to morning time, rather than continuing to dip into our rations, where do we hunt around this area if we were to try and find some food?
Oh, there's a number of things. It's all a matter of which stone you turn. And she says it as though she means it figuratively, but you think she might mean it literally.
Giant centipede.
I was gonna say, are we?
I think we're
Now,
happy to
hold on.
just share our rations.
Now, with what I'm thinking, did she mean stone eating bugs or headstone eating bodies?
Yes.
Okay.
When she turns to you, Boris, and she said, when you head out and you get to the well, head toward the east. And she gives you a general direction that is actually east. I've gathered most of the wood that's available toward the western side, unless you go very, very far away. There'll be more wood just to the east. And she just looks around and points, over there, behind the box, there's a hatchet if you need a hatchet. And then she heads out and is walking across to one of the other two buildings near the well, stops, washes off her arms and her face at the well, and then she steps into another one of the houses.
I'll also wash just.
I will grab the hatchet and I will go west from.
When you wash that well, she pauses waiting for you. Jacob, are you catching up behind?
Around what time is it? Like, how soon are we going to be going to sleep?
You would think that it's probably only like 5 o'clock, maybe between 5 and 6, but it's already fairly dark. It seems like it's always been dim here. The canopy is so thick that you think that, if she's going to go to sleep when it's getting dark, it could be within the next hour, half an hour.
I really still do not feel like we're alone where we are. I want to cast my alarm spell, or since we haven't done anything today, maybe casting it in like 3 different places so nothing can sneak in to get to us.
Okay.
But I don't know if now's the right time to do that if we're not going to be going to sleep for a while unless we are.
You do get the idea, and of course Boris is still out there, but you do get the idea as you step to this, and Zelen, if you're heading into the door to go after her, it looks like the main floor of this house has been rearranged, that it could probably house 15 people sleeping, but most of the beds, cot-like things that are in here have been collapsed, or it looks like there's just like bundles of rags, and she's used some of these beds for firewood at different points. But there's still actually 8 beds in this area of varying sizes and varying degrees of, decomposition, dry decomposition. But there's one door that goes out of the back of this that looks like it goes into a small garden area. And then there's windows on the right-hand side where you could just hop through a window and you're outside.
Okay.
There's also a staircase that goes up, but you would gauge that no one's gone upstairs for a long time.
A garden area like cultivated food, or was once a garden?
Was once a garden.
Got it.
Gotcha. So I will cast my alarm spell, and I'll pick 3 spots that kind of
Will Boris trigger that when he comes back?
Yeah, but
Yes.
I'll make them all mental. That way
Okay.
nothing actually makes an audible sound. It'll just trigger from me. So I'll pick one near the entrance and then pick 2 other areas that would be, if you were coming to this building, you would have to go through one of these 3 areas. If I could try and pick 3 that are like that.
Okay, yeah, pretty easily. With the windows to the one side, the back door, the front door. Yeah,
Being
you
as stealthy as possible about that to not let Violet know that I'm going to know about it.
So casting is one round. Is it verbal, semantic, and material? Or is it just like 1 or 2?
There's a number of things for alarm. It is, all of them, verbal, semantic, and material.
Do I know you're doing it? Because maybe I could engage her in conversation.
You're aware that he often does this when you guys are in places
Right.
that are, unsavory or potentially dangerous. So you would probably
Or
anticipate that
wild.
could be what he's would typically do.
Okay, so then I'm going to Violet. Tell me about your childhood here.
My childhood has been delightful and marvelous. I have the most loving parents. It has been the place where anyone would dream of growing up. I can't imagine having grown anywhere else. In other countries, like your country. And what's your country, Zell?
We're from the north.
Yes, you're from the north.
How does she know that?
That was Natalie's sense of direction. Sorry, that was mean of me.
No, but true.
So you're from the north, and do you call your country the North?
We do.
Yeah. And
You're
she
on your
says,
own.
"Huh."
If I name the country, she's not going to recognize the village. She's not going to.
She
not
was
gonna mean
definitely
anything to him.
fishing for information. She wanted to know something.
Violet, did you play with other children when you were little?
Everywhere. Yes, all over the city I played with
Are
children.
the children with us right now?
Do you ask that, Jacob?
I'm outside of the house.
Okay,
In
so
a manner of speaking, because I ate them.
I think their
God.
bones are about
Don't play
somewhere.
with your food. Am I awarded some stealth checks during that, or
Yeah, go ahead and do just that and roll them with advantage. She's being fairly well distracted. She's really taken by the things you're saying. And as you're walking in, she pats on one of the beds, Zelen, that would look to be one of the nicer ones. And she says, there, sleep there. And she takes one that's not as nice, but it looks pretty nice. You're pretty sure she slept in all of them. And you know these sheets have not been changed in the last week.
Yeah.
Decade.
Do I have a bedroll that I can put down?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, you most definitely do.
Yeah, I
Alright,
think
the,
I'd rather sleep on that.
for the 3 different rolls, they were 19, 23, and 26.
Okay, so let me roll some things opposite of that. You're very aware, Zelen, that while Jacob is out there, that she is like kind of watching out the doorway. That she watches out the window, and she starts to stand up as though she's going to walk to the door. And you know that Jacob's heading around in that direction. Do you take any actions whatsoever?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to ask her questions to engage her. Where did your line live before you moved to the merchant area?
So as you're asking that question, go ahead and make an insight roll.
And it is a 9.
And you're not positive, but you're wondering at this point. She seems to be very distracted by Jacob. She might even be hearing you. That it looks like she might go to try to intercept Jacob with whatever he's doing right now, just any old way, unless you did something more than just words.
Knock off the teapot.
Yeah, I don't. God, I have no idea what to do with this woman. What else?
Do
would
something
distract
physical.
her?
Don't say words. I would say something physical would be much more
Cast
distracting.
a spell or stoke
Violet,
the fire.
I'm going to say evening prayers. Would you like to join me in evening prayers?
She stops and she says, "You mean prayers like that other man did?" And she kind of like has this face like, "I'd rather not go to church this morning." You mean those kind of prayers?
We could pray to Uko, or we could.
And you see, she's like, "Oh, it's like dill pickle."
We also pray
like
to
dill
we also pray
pickles.
to Lasden.
Lasden, you pray to Lasden?
Las-
What for? He's been hidden for eons.
Our tradition is that he continues to help us, that he continues to guide us.
And so with that, when she says your tradition, you have her attention back again. And Jacob, you are not discovered on that last one where her
Thank
perception
God.
was heading in that direction. And so your alarms are cast on the 3 sides of it. And she asks you very specifically, what is the tradition that Ladson has any effect in this world at all?
So I come from a tradition that enjoys animals and nature.
Oh, I enjoy animals too.
and enjoys nature and trees, and we believe that Lasden is part of that.
I have never heard that before. I'll have to think about that. But you've noticed that there are so many trees here in the city, that it is the city, that Sarntar Azul is the greatest city with the most parks. And you must have noticed how we walked through so many parks as we came here to my home. I'll have to meditate on that one. So back to Boris outside.
Yeah, so I went west when she said go east. What
And-
find?
True to her word, you're not finding much in the way of firewood. As you go through various houses, they've been pretty much stripped of furniture and burnables, consumables, if there have been fences, anything else. where there's trees growing up.
Yeah, I was anticipating more along the line of charnel pit that she didn't want me to see, rather than she was giving me honest advice, because
Gotcha.
I don't think there's an honest
My
bone in
old
this
hag
man's
was
body.
telling the truth.
Yeah, right?
But as you walk a little further, you notice that there is a large hill rising up before you that, go ahead and roll a investigation,
Okie dokie. 14.
that you note is not part of the original construction. It looks like someone might have excavated an area, raised a hill, and a big one, and now trees have since grown all over it.
Right.
But it definitely, the tree growth is smaller and different around that hill and on that hill that's ahead of you. It's like a blister in the city itself.
Weird.
Than it was in the areas you've gone heretofore, where the rest of the hills, call them hills, are like gentle rolls and slopes, where if buildings fell down eventually,
This is a mound.
this has been structured this way. Do you head toward it?
Yeah, any buildings on it?
No, there are no buildings on it, and you get within just, you're less than 100 feet, maybe closer to 50 feet, and you think you see something moving off to your right-hand side.
I turn.
And as you're turning to look in that direction, out of the corner of your eye to the left, you think something is moving.
Okie dokie, yeah. Switching tactics a bit. Drawing the sword, the holy Arngolian sword. Not activating sacred weapon yet, but I'm sensing shenanigans.
When you pull that sword and you know that it radiates for things that have like magical awareness, it's about as large a ping as you could possibly get, being
Right,
Arngolian. And as you do that, straight ahead of you, 20 feet, there is a person just standing there. "1,000 listens. What a benchmark. On behalf of all of us at the Empire's Edge, I would like to thank you for your continued support. Every time you share our podcast, whether online or in person, you make our community stronger. You can donate to us at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge. This will enable us to improve our recording space and develop merchandise. Thank you all again. We look forward to continuing our adventure with you."